We are talking Colorado Buffaloes and Deion Sanders with Bruce Feldman on the Rich Eisen Show. This is coming after Colorado's upset of TCU and before Colorado plays Nebraska. So, you know, this could all go up in smoke in a couple of days here. But the Deion Sanders thing is really interesting. And, you know, I was talking to some people about this. Deion is the perfect evolution, or he's the perfect example of the evolution in college football. What he has done, people get it kind of mixed up, I think, of what Deion's doing. People look at Deion and they think, well, the X's and O's, you know, can he be a game planner? Can he get the X's and O's right during the game? I think he's basically told you he's not worried about that. He's got assistant coaches who were head coaches last year. He's got assistant coaches who have NFL experience. He's telling you, I'm not doing the X's and O's. They are. And they have the pedigree to be able to do the X's and O's. All Deion has to do is recruit and motivate. And in a time of NIL and in a time of player power where players can transfer whenever they want, wherever they want, Colorado works. And I think it's interesting, too. I heard a lot of people say, well, Colorado's got 80 new players. No way that'll work. But you don't ever hear people say, Georgia has 60 new five-star players. How is that going to work? You never hear Alabama brought in 55 new recruits. How in the world? Like, college football does that every single year. Good teams do that every single year. They bring in a ton of five-star recruits from all over the country who have never played together, and it works. You know, like, you never hear Kentucky basketball. Well, they got a whole group of freshmen that never played together. How is this going to work? And it works. You never hear, oh, Duke, they got 5 new starters. They're all freshmen. They're all 5-star. No way. Guess what? It works. That's all Colorado's doing. At the end of the day, their roster is full of 5-star guys who could be playing at Georgia or Alabama or Clemson or USC or Florida State, and they chose to play Colorado. So it's one of those things where people kind of love to hate it for what it is, but I think it is sustainable, and I think it does work. And if you went and polled the top 100 recruits in college football right now and said, do you want to go to Clemson? Do you want to go to Alabama? Do you want to go to Tennessee? Do you want to go to USC? Do you want to go to Texas? Do you want to go to Oklahoma? Or do you want to go to Colorado? How many of those top 100 do you think would say Colorado? I bet, and this is controversial yet brave, I bet it's over 50%. I bet over 50% of those kids want to play at Colorado. They want to be part of that. They want to be under Coach Prime. That's just the facts. Dabo Swinney, the X's and O's, the game planning, the national championships, the whatever, pumping out NFL quarterbacks. How many of those top 100 recruits, if you said Clemson or Colorado, would say Colorado? I'm guessing if you did just those two, I bet it's over 85% would say Colorado. And that's insane. But it's college football nowadays.
I don't think it's overhyped. And I know, folks, I already see it coming. I could see it coming because it's been replayed for 4 decades with Deion. You know, where he lets his mouth run. He talks when he shouldn't. He's thinking that he's writing checks that we cannot wait for his team to not cash. And he doesn't care because what he's doing.
I don't care about that at all. Like, people talk about Deion and his press conferences and his, he's cocky or his attitude. Who cares? Like, there's coaches, there are cocky coaches, there are scumbag coaches, there are arrogant coaches, there are all that stuff. Who cares? What matters is the roster you're putting out, the recruits you're bringing in, and the results on the field. It doesn't matter if Greg Popovich is dressing down an interviewer after a Spurs game. It doesn't matter if Bob Knight is throwing a chair across the arena during a Texas Tech or an Indiana game. Like, none of that matters. There are Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter that he's, the worst when it comes to press conferences. None of that matters.
Is what he's always done, which is enter an arena with confidence, because not only does he know he's prepared, that's first and foremost. Not only does he know that he's prepared, but he knows that those who he needs to come with him are equally as prepared. that is the secret sauce. Everyone pays attention to the flash or the prime time, and then Deion comes in and whips you. That's what I think he's doing with this team. At one game in, and I understand there's a long way to go, but I saw enough college football this weekend to see that if that team continues to be consistent and healthy, they can stand.
I don't want to get this twisted. I don't think Colorado is going to be a playoff team. I don't think Colorado is a top 10 team, or I don't think they should even be in the top 25. I'm going to be betting on Nebraska this week. I'm not talking about Colorado specifically. I'm talking about this philosophy of Colorado. I'm talking about celebrity head coach, get your transfers in, and let your assistants do the coaching. I think that's the future of college athletics as it stands right now. Now, if NIL gets messed with, if transfer portal gets messed, it'll change things. But as it sits right now, you are better off with a face of your team as a head coach, recruiting these players, paying them NIL, sponsorship, and whatever money, and then having your assistants do the coaching. You're better off doing that than having some retread coach trying to do it the old school way. That's what I'm trying to say. That college football has turned into college basketball, where you just got to get players there. You just got to get these big transfers there. I mean, Travis Hunter and Shedeur, I know Shedeur's, family, so it's a little different, but Travis Hunter was the number one recruit in the country. And he went to Jackson State. Then he gets courted to go, the reports are a $1.5 million NIL deal, to leave, to go somewhere else. Where does he says, no, I'm going to Colorado. He follows Deion again. And now Travis Hunter is in Heisman talks. If one, and I'm saying all this stuff without Colorado really having success. If Deion pumps out a Heisman winner, if Travis Hunter wins the Heisman, or Shedeur wins the Heisman, or God forbid Colorado actually does go to the playoffs or is good this year, imagine then what this will do. Imagine then what will happen if this whole philosophy turns out success like that.
Quite a run in a Pac-12 that hasn't lost yet.
Yeah, look, I think the health part is a big key.
Yes.
You can't afford, I imagine there's going to be a big drop-off if Shedeur is not the starting quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's every team.
Take it for this. So, in our green room.
I hate when people say that. I cannot stand that. It's the same thing with USC. Like, how is the first thing that Bruce, and I like Bruce Feldman, how is the first thing he says is, well, health's a big factor. Health is a big factor for every team. You don't think there's a drop-off if Caleb Williams gets hurt? I never understand when people say that. I never understand when people point to an injury, because you could say it for every single team, and it's the most variable of the variables. No one knows if it can happen. It's like when people say, well, the Chiefs, there's probably a drop-off if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. Yes, obviously. Same for the Eagles, same for the Cowboys, same for literally every team ever, in every sport ever.
At some point in the second half, Urban Meyer and I have this conversation. He's talking about how Game Changer and how other schools are going to take their cues from this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And my only hesitation on this is there aren't other Deion Sanderses. There are other great players. Eddie George was a phenomenal player. He's a head coach at Tennessee State. There's other guys who
it's nothing to do with Deion. It's nothing to do with him coaching or playing. Excuse me. It has nothing to do with him being a good former player. It has to do with his personality. And there are big personalities out there. There are other people like this. And what I think could happen, and this is a real controversial opinion, but I think you'll start to see celebrity head coaches. I think you'll start to see people who have absolutely nothing to do with football. If this all continues, I think you'll see celebrity head coaches or celebrity teams, basically. I'm thinking of this is going to be, we're going down a nuts rabbit hole right here. I've had way too much coffee. If you're a team, I almost don't even want to say this because it's so nuts. But if you're a team like, I don't know, San Jose State or San Diego, some California team, and if Snoop Dogg is your head coach, someone with ties to the area, huge celebrity, huge marketing power. If he's your head coach, if he's the one recruiting, and you're giving out NIL deals tied to that, and your uniforms get a complete update because of the marketability, and you're all of a sudden the flashiest team, and you're the coolest team, and you're, the pomp and the circumstance, but you have legitimate head coach, assistant coach people, I think those teams would do better than what they're doing now. UMass, all right, we'll take them. If UMass got Dave Portnoy as the head coach, and Big Cat or the whole Barstool team was involved, like they're the assistant coaches, whatever, but you bring in some legitimate X's and O guys behind the scenes calling the plays on game day, and you just have the Barstool brand behind that team, and again, the uniforms get a full makeover, the social media teams get a complete revamp. If all that stuff happens, I think those teams would be in a better space than they are right now. And that is so crazy to even think about. But I believe that can happen because of the NILs, because of the transfer portal, and because it really doesn't matter anymore. As far as like your head coach being a football guy. As long as you have the assistants with the headsets on, they're calling the plays and they're running practice and they're running the logistics and all that stuff, and they can do it. What does it matter if Snoop Dogg or Dave Portnoy or some other huge celebrity is the face of the team? I don't think it matters at all.
Ed Reed briefly was the head coach at FAMU. Ed Reed's a super charismatic guy too, and the passion kind of pours out of him. But I think that's only one piece of this, right? There's great player, there's super charismatic, there's a lot of things that go to it. But like, I don't know, could people overhaul their roster and make these dramatic moves? Can you expect to sell, hey, come play for me? Like, I actually know what it's like to do this and to get you there. Yeah, I think that can resonate. I just don't know. Like, when I watch him, there are certain things that he has a sense for that I'm like, ooh, there's some genius in there. And when I use the term genius, it's like stuff that doesn't make sense to normal people. But it's actually like next level. And I think there's some stuff going.
I think this Colorado thing is next level. I think I don't know if I'd say it's genius, but it is so out of the box. I mean, we have never seen something like this. We've never seen basically. I mean, this is as close as you can get to what I'm talking about. I understand that Deion has head coaching experience. He played in the NFL, whatever. But this is as close as you can get to a celebrity face recruiting just players to come and play and be cool and have cool uniforms and all that stuff, and out of this world marketing behind you. This is as close as you can get to that with really good assistant coaches. I think it would work for a lot of teams. And I think a lot of down on their luck teams would be better off trying this. What do you have to lose? If you're a team that isn't going anywhere and you got some whatever head coach and you got some whatever players and a whatever athletic department, what do you have to lose to go and get some huge celebrity and try and do this? If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you're in the same place, really. I don't think there's a risk to trying this new strategy that Deion's kind of implemented.
Going on there, where like you watch some of these press conferences he has, or some of these different things, and it's like, I don't know how scripted it is. It's just, God put it in his ear, and it's coming out in a lyrical, very powerful way. As somebody who, we both are in front of a microphone, you way more so than me. It is not easy to do that.
Well, I've been around, again, Deion for as long as I've been around him. Deion's expertise when he was on television was sense of chemistry and also sense of moment, and his ability to react second to none, where he hated to rehearse. Whenever we would do stuff and let's rehearse it, he'd be like, wow.
This is something that, like, I think if you're a UFC fighter, it's obvious too, where you have to be outspoken. You have to have a gimmick. You have to have a character. You can't just be a nose to the headstone or head. What is that phrase? Nose to the grindstone. You can't just be a head down, work hard, don't say anything guy and expect to get to the very top. You have to be something. You have to be a Conor McGregor or Sean O'Malley or whoever. And yeah, you got to back it up with some results, but you're better off being that loud, outspoken, marketable guy. And if you have two guys and fighter A is loud, outspoken, marketable, a character, and he wins 10 fights and loses 8, and then you have another guy who is the exact same level of fighter, a 10-8 fighter, but he doesn't have a personality, doesn't have a character, doesn't have a whatever. The difference is that fighter B, without the personality, he never sees the 18th fight because he probably gets cut because he's a 500 fighter and no one wants to see him fight. No one cares. The 10-8 guy, he's going to stick, or the character, he's going to stick around. That's what Deion's basically proving, is that in today's day and age of social media and TV deals and big brands and NIL, you gotta have some personality. You gotta have something. You can't just be an old school defensive coach, 60-something years old, doesn't understand social media, whatever. Like, it's just, everything is changing now because of NIL dollars.
Save it for when the lights are on.
Because everybody else isn't you, and
right.
They can't get away with hitting the switch and it just comes out.
But he would do it. It's not like he refused to do it. It would just be like, we've got it. The lights are going to come on.
You may have it, but what about the other
I
schmoes?
know. So when you're saying
this part I think is overblown. Deion is not the only guy that can do this. Deion is not the only personality. Deion is not the only guy who can handle a microphone. I think this part is a little bit much. There are probably thousands of people that could do the exact same thing in the exact same spot. Deion just happens to be the first. He's just the most of all that in the college football space right now. But to say like no one else could do what Deion's doing, I think is a bit much.
Saying is it scripted? He's probably said this, if I had to guess, the stuff that he says into a microphone, he's probably said dozens of times to everyone around him.
Yeah.
So it just comes out that he might workshop stuff with other people and then be ready to hit it. But him saying that he's about to get comfortable in a minute, that's him, I think, off the cuff, just talking like he talks, because he's giving also everyone a little bit of a warning. And I would say to Nebraska, if you turn the ball over this weekend and you have troubles getting first downs like you did in Minnesota, it's going to be a very long afternoon coming up on Saturday.
I think Colorado will have the advantage on the perimeter for sure with some of those big-time players, but I think Nebraska might dominate the line of scrimmage. Again, I'm going to be on Nebraska. If Colorado proves me wrong, they prove me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, this feels like it's going to be the CU show. Look, and Matt Rule is a really good college coach. I don't know if he has the front line kind of difference maker guys that Deion has. And
yeah,
Deion
he doesn't have those perimeter difference makers for sure
compared to what they have at Nebraska. But we'll see. It's like, I can't wait to see how this thing keeps going, because all of a sudden it's like the hype is incredibly high, and sure, Deion can handle it because he's lived it for a long time, but still new to, a lot of people. I'm not saying they won't be able to handle it, but I just think it's only going to grow. Like next week they play Colorado State, and the challenge will be there. It was like, okay, everyone's looking at that like the trap game, if they win this one, then.
I mean, don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. Like when you think about who owns these conferences, who is controlling the Pac-12 and the Big 12 and the SEC, it's the TV networks. The TV networks are loving this, obviously. The ratings are through the roof for Colorado games. The betting handle is through the roof, okay? That alone is such a difference maker. 30 years ago, the Pac-12 wasn't in bed with a TV network. There wasn't live streaming of these games. There wasn't an SEC network. No one cared. Fox didn't care about, or NBC didn't care about Notre Dame or whatever. This is totally different. And on one hand, you could say like it's kind of ruined college athletics, and it has. Like college athletics is going down a worse path because of the TV network, because of the networks, because of the NIL money. I agree. I think it is ruining college athletics for sure. But it's the reality of what's going on. It's the reality of it. Same with college basketball. At one point, it flipped to where you're better off getting the 5 best freshmen, basically making an AAU team and rolling the ball out there. And the people who adapted won. The people who didn't adapt died. This is now the same thing. College football with Colorado is becoming a YouTube channel. It's becoming YouTube stars. It's becoming AAU ball. It's becoming brands and marketability and what you're doing on social media and all of that. It's less about Oklahoma drills and, two-a-days. It's not the Junction Boys anymore. It's not Bear Bryant. It's swinging violently. And just like everything, I mean, just like things in society, when you see a huge shift like this, it swings violently. It's not a slow burn. It is evolve or die immediately. Immediately. And we'll see how this goes, but I think it's like I was talking to an LSU fan, and I asked him right now, this was like on Tuesday, right now, if you could choose for the next 5 years, I think I said next year, but we'll say for this. If you could choose right now for the next 5 years, would you rather have Brian Kelly as your coach or Deion Sanders? And he immediately said Brian Kelly. And I said, I don't think you'll agree with that in a few weeks here. Because if you have Deion, you're guaranteed a top 5 recruiting class. You're guaranteed 5 stars all over the place. You're guaranteed being relevant. You're guaranteed TV deals. And you're guaranteed huge marketing shares. And you're guaranteed all that stuff. With Brian Kelly, all you're guaranteed basically is to lose the first game of the season. All you're guaranteed is to lose Florida State. Who's going to recruit? Who's going to recruit the better athletes, the better team? Brian Kelly or Deion? It's Deion. It's weird, man. It's a crazy shift in college football. It's an interesting conversation. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Am I way off base here? Is Snoop Dogg not the better choice for a head coach? Would you rather have Les Miles? Would you rather have Les Miles as your head coach next year or Deion and a group of like professional assistants? Or not Deion, Snoop Dogg or Les Miles? And that's the question. If you are Kentucky, if you're just some random team that's going absolutely nowhere, Vanderbilt, would you rather have a celebrity head coach and top-notch assistants, or would you rather have a retread like Les Miles or some random ex college football coach who's done nothing? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next video.